Coming up on LEX 18 News at 5.
A bus crash with injuries in Laurel County. We're on the scene.
An elderly woman and her son lose their lives in a Floyd County house fire.
And Coach Cal lands yet another big recruit.
With coverage you can count on, this is LEX 18 News at 5.
A helicopter is called to the scene of a school bus crash in Laurel County. The latest from the scene is tonight's LEX 18 Big Story at 5. Good evening, I'm Nancy Cox.
And I'm Kevin Christopher. Thanks for joining us at 5. That bus wreck happened on 25E near Ferriston Road. LEX 18's Bianca Spinoza is live on the phone in Laurel County with the big story at 5. Bianca, what have you learned?
Kevin and Nancy, this is a collision involving a school bus in Laurel County and a pickup truck. Transportation officials tell me that 64 students are on board the bus. According to the sheriff's office, 7 students were injured. We're told they're non-life-threatening injuries. These students are from the South Middle School in Laurel County, the South Laurel County High School, and the London Elementary School. Again, we saw these students being taken by ambulance to St. Joseph's Hospital in London. They appeared to be alert. They appeared to be able to talk to first responders, but again, they were being taken to the hospital for precautions. Another bus was brought here to bring the students to their homes, the students that weren't injured, while some parents chose to come here to pick them up themselves. Again, police are still trying to figure out how this accident happened. We will have much more on this coming up later on LEX 18 News at 5:30. For now, covering the news live in Laurel County from the LEX 18 mobile newsroom. Back to you.
And the Sheriff's Department also tells LEX 18 News that pickup truck driver was flown to UK hospital. Bianca stays on the scene. We'll have much more ahead on LEX 18 News. In other news this evening, a state police trooper is credited with tackling an accused gunman after a road rage incident. It happened earlier today near the Tennessee line at the I-75 northbound rest stop in Whitley County. State police say just before 1 this afternoon, a man was shot and they took another man into custody. The victim was taken to a Tennessee hospital for treatment. No word yet about his name or condition.
We have a developing story in the Hamburg area of Lexington. Police are working a bank robbery at the Fifth Third on Pleasant Ridge. LEX 18's Jennifer Hoff is live on the scene with the latest. Jennifer.
Nancy, bank workers told police they got a pretty good description of the man who robbed this Fifth Third bank here in the Hamburg area. Besides the physical description that workers told police, the robber was also intoxicated. He implied a weapon and demanded money, but police wouldn't say whether he got away with any. However, we did see a handful of officials, including K-9, searching garbage cans and bushes around some surrounding businesses here. Now, that robber, police told us, is a white man. You can see by these pictures that police have just sent in to the media, is a white male with gray hair. He was wearing wire-rimmed glasses and a Nike hat along with a blue sweatshirt. Now, besides some of those pictures, police are also looking at surveillance video from some of these surrounding businesses. We'll have more on this developing story coming up on LEX 18 News. We are covering the news live in Lexington from the LEX 18 mobile newsroom. Kevin and Nancy, back to you.
Also breaking news in a series of shootings here in Lexington. Police say they've made an arrest in a recent murder, and the suspect is no stranger to police.
24-year-old Clark Young Jr. is accused of killing Vincent Miles. Miles was found shot to death outside a home on Elm Tree Lane back on October 11th. While he was charged with murder today, he was already in jail in connection with a shooting October 10th on Whitney Avenue. 2 people were hurt in that shooting. Police say those 2 were able to gather enough information to get Young arrested.
They knew him casually and actually knew him under a different last name. So it was not like they were close personal friends or anything. They were able to give us a first name when they were shot.
Now, police also say they do not believe Young knew Miles, and right now, they don't think Young is involved in any other shootings across the city.
The flames from a double fatal Floyd County fire were so powerful they tore through the roof of the home. Family members say a mother and her son didn't make it out of the scene on North Front Street in Garrett, south of Prestonsburg. LEX 18's Adam Baker reports.
What used to be a place full of love is now just a shell. Everything that made this house a home is gone.
They were very quiet, loving and kind people. You couldn't ask for any better neighbors.
Relatives say 87-year-old Jewel Case and her son, 63-year-old James Martin Case, lived here. Their neighbor, Martha Holthouse, was the first person to notice the fire around 1 a.m.
I knocked on the door and no one answered, and I couldn't get anyone up. And I kept knocking, and the fumes or the smoke, I started coughing and couldn't stop. So I put my hand up on the window too, and I felt the heat, and I know there's nothing else I could do.
Firefighters say the man was found right at the front door, the woman in her bedroom, both dead on scene.
We're at a tragic loss for them, and our sympathy goes with them.
And Kentucky State Police, as well as the State Fire Marshal's Office, expect it to be quite a while before they know an exact cause. Covering the news in Floyd County from the LEX 18 Mobile Newsroom, now back to you.
Yesterday, we told you that a man who murdered a Fayette County sheriff's deputy back in 1988 could possibly be released from prison. Well, tonight you'll hear from the family of that man. And as LEX 18's Josh Breslow reports, William Bennett's sister wants him out of jail because of his failing health.
They don't understand. You know, how's it going to be a threat and this man letting her die?
There's nothing Carnetta Davis wants more than to have her brother, William Bennett, back home in Lexington to spend his final days with family.
But I really don't think my brother's going to make it. I really don't. I think he's going to leave this world.
Since November 1988, Bennett has been serving a 120-year sentence for murdering Fayette County Sheriff's Deputy Joseph Angelucci. Now the killer has been granted an early medical parole hearing later this month. The reason, according to his sister, Bennett was found unconscious in his cell back in August after suffering a possible stroke or heart attack. She says he's been in a coma ever since.
He just laying there. Pretty much waiting on God just take him away.
We feel like William Bennett is right where he belongs.
Bennett possibly being released from custody, not sitting well with Angelucci's family.
So there's always a possibility that if somebody thinks that he's going to die and they let him out of the penitentiary thinking they're going to die in a few days, they could possibly live for years thereafter. And then where would we be? Saying his medical condition doesn't change a thing.
If they need to visit William Bennett before he dies, let him go to the penitentiary and do it. That's where he belongs.
And if he's here, at least he could be at a place where we can go see him. If there's no more, just sit there and look at him, but just to see him.
Covering the news in Lexington, Josh Breslow, LEX 18 News.
That hearing is scheduled for the afternoon of November 28th.
A Laurel County woman is behind bars because state police say she tried to hire a hitman to kill her husband.
Amber Hersey was arrested this morning and charged with solicitation of murder. According to state police, she approached a man and asked him to kill her husband in exchange for life insurance money. Turns out the man knew the woman's husband and told him about the plan. So a meeting was staged, and troopers say that's when Hersey incriminated herself.
And now, Chief Meteorologist Bill Meck and LEX 18 Storm Tracker weather.
It was a day today where we began with sunshine, although it was cold. As we went through the day, we saw the clouds begin to pop up. Some of those clouds have been producing a few sprinkles. And it looks, I don't want to say impressive on the Max Track Live Doppler, but there's a decent coverage of stuff. The thing is, most of that is not reaching the surface. Well, you may have a sprinkle out there. A couple of folks, especially across the north, might see a little sleet pellet come down out of that. Part of a bigger area that extends back up to the Great Lakes, and some of this is reaching the ground in the form of snow, not all that far away. You can see there's a counterclockwise swirl here, so there's an upper level low that's swinging by, and that's causing the clouds that we've had around during the day and also keeping us cold. Yeah, these are your 5 o'clock temperatures. 44 right now in Lexington. Frankfort's at 45. Same with Campbellsville and Somerset. Jackson, London, Monticello all at 46. Well, the winds will die down, the sky will clear, and it gets cold tonight. We drop down into the upper 20s. We get one more cold day, which is Veterans Day tomorrow. But after that, we've got a weekend shaping up that looks, well, it's going to feel pretty good. You may have to hold on to your hat, though. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes.
A little breezy, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
Hey, Coach Cal picked up another huge recruit today, and now the Cats are closer to their 4th straight #1 class in the nation. LEX 18's Mary Jo Perino's live in Lexington at Wildcat Warehouse with that. MJ?
Kevin, Kentucky's recruiting class was ranked 9th in the country yesterday when it was just Willie Cauley and Archie Goodwin. But today, up to #2 and knocking on the door of #1. That's because 6'7" forward Alex Poitras signed with the Cats this afternoon. Poitras had kept his recruitment kind of a secret, or where he was going to go. suspenseful. Yesterday, most believed that he would end up at either Memphis or Vandy. But at a ceremony in his high school this afternoon, the Clarksville, Tennessee native put on that true blue hat, moving the Cats class up to number 2, and they're not done yet. Much more on the newest Cat, plus the current Cats have their opening night tomorrow night. That's coming up in our next half hour. For now, we are covering the Cats live from the LEX18 mobile newsroom. Back to you.
Now to the child sex scandal that is rocking the sports world. Legendary Penn State football coach Joe Paterno is out. Fired last night in the wake of the allegations surrounding one of his former coaches.
Paterno was under intense criticism for not going to authorities after learning of child sexual abuse allegations against former defensive coordinator Jerry Sandusky. Paterno was told of the allegations back in 2002, but only reported it to school officials, not law enforcement. Jay Gray is in State College, Pennsylvania with the latest.
A new era begins at Penn State with an interim coach on unsteady ground.
I take this job with very mixed emotions due to the situation.
The scars are still fresh and deep. Accusations that former defensive coordinator Jerry Sandusky is a sexual predator, abusing young boys, some allegedly on campus.
How could they just ignore it? This was a child, a 10-year-old. These kids had, it's just so inconceivable that you would not do something about that.
Adding to the frustration and shock, accusations that legendary coach Joe Paterno may have been part of an alleged cover-up.
For the most part, students have looked at him as a figurehead, as a father, as a grandfather, as an icon. And to see him go in this manner really disappointed a lot of people.
Disappointment and anger that poured into the streets.
Joe Paterno is no longer the head football coach, effective immediately.
As word of Paterno's firing spread across the campus late last night. But as the violence gave way to the realization that Paterno is gone and the scandal is not, students today were left to wonder what comes next.
I honestly don't know how the campus is going to move forward.
The new coach of the Nittany Lions says he and his team will have to help shape the future of this battered institution.
I've got to find a way to restore the confidence and to start a healing process.
A tougher challenge, certainly, than any he or his players have ever faced on the field. Jay Gray, NBC News, State College, Pennsylvania.
A robber attacks a pizza delivery driver in her car.
Also, a caregiver is accused of scamming an elderly woman out of thousands of dollars. Both stories ahead at 5. Then at 5:30, a clerk who was bug sprayed in a robbery earlier this week gets hit again.
Giving you a live look at the sun there at Harrodsburg Road and Pasadena Drive. Several wrecks out there to tell you about, but nobody hurt in any of these. The inner loop of Manowar Boulevard between Boston Road and Grassy Creek Drive. Another on the outer loop of Manowar between I-75 and Polo Club Boulevard, but those vehicles are on the shoulder. The outer loop of New Circle Road just past Harrodsburg Road, and Jaggy Fox Way between Maggard Lane and Capstone Drive.
And now, Chief Meteorologist Bill Meck and LEX18 Storm Tracker weather.
Well, it was a nice day if this were the beginning of December. It's not, so it was cold, at least by the middle part of November's standards. Let's go and share what's going on right now. MaxTrack Live Doppler, there may be a little sprinkle on going outside your house. Best coverage, at least by the radar returns, is in eastern Kentucky, and we also have a few going across the north, and the potential for stuff north of I-64, in fact, even showing up there in southern Indiana, but there could be an ice pellet that reaches the ground. A lot of this is evaporating before it reaches the ground. We call that virga, because the air at the ground is pretty dry. It's also pretty cold. Wind chills. Here's something we haven't talked much about. How about upper 30s for a lot of us at this point? 37 the wind chill in Lexington. We have wind gusts in the 20 to 25 mile per hour range. That gets your attention. Truthfully, this may be somewhat tame by what may be coming in for the latter part of the weekend. So go to our WeatherBug network. You are looking at wind gusts today. It hit 31 at Keeneland. Mercer County Intermediate had a wind gust of 29. Whitaker Bank Ballpark was at 27. We're in Danville, the Kentucky School for the Deaf. We also had a wind gust of 27. It gets cold tonight. The sky will be clearing during the evening. We'll see a temperature down to around 40, upper 20s, clear to start the day tomorrow. There will be colder pockets than that, by the way, some of the colder valleys, and just into the mid-40s by lunchtime. There's your cold start. Lots of 20s showing up for us. That is a brisk beginning to a Veterans Day. A lot of sunshine early in the day, a few clouds around during the afternoon. Our highs, though, only get back up to the upper 40s, but there is a nice warm-up coming in starting on Saturday. At the moment, it's 45 in Frankfort, Danville, and Somerset, Monticello, London, Jackson, all at 46. It is a cold latter part of the afternoon. Watch the clouds. You start there through 10 and 11 o'clock, clear as a bell, but then by noon, we start putting in some of those cumulus clouds. It becomes stratocumulus as we go into the 4 and 5 o'clock hour. We talk about Virga. There it is. What a great picture of that. You've got the cloud here. You got the wispy stuff coming down, evaporating as it heads toward the surface. So if you ever wondered what we're talking about, there you go. It's 44 right now in Lexington, a northwest wind at 14. Wrap around moisture. You can see some of the snow up here across Wisconsin and Michigan. Some of those clouds have worked their way far enough south that they are affecting us. But the system is pulling away. High pressure will build into the south. That lessens our wind tomorrow. And along with that, though, it does keep it cold for one more day. But then by Friday, warm front slides by, and that's when we start to warm up. You can find us online, lex18.com. Clearing, the wind dies down, upper 20s, Veterans Day. Partly to mostly sunny, but still cold, a high in the upper 40s. Saturday looks terrific, lots of sun, up around 60. Very windy on Sunday, but it'll be warm. Highs will be in the mid-60s. We stay warm into Monday, but thunderstorm chances also increase early next week.
Ooh, chilly morning.
It will be really cold.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Yesterday, we told you about nearly $50,000 in estate jewelry that a man feared was lost, but there's been an arrest in that Jessamine County case.
Also on LEX 18 News at 5:30, former Wildcat Antoine Walker will have more time to repay nearly $1 million in debt. But still ahead at 5, a former principal caught with drugs and nearly 100 guns in an undercover sting will serve jail time. A former Magoffin County teacher has received a 60-month prison sentence for drug trafficking and firearms offenses.
Here's that update in LEX 18 covering Kentucky at 5.
Police say they don't think Daryl Patrick sold drugs on school grounds or to any children at Northern Magoffin Elementary. An undercover investigation led to Patrick's arrest back in 2009. Investigators say they found drugs and nearly 90 guns in his home. A Rowan County caretaker has been charged with trying to take some $60,000 from an elderly woman in her care. Elaine L. Bentley is charged with knowingly exploiting an adult. Bentley served as a caregiver for Marcella Lambert. On one occasion, Bentley allegedly asked Lambert to remove $3,000 from her bank as an advance payment for Bentley's services. Police say then Bentley took Lambert to a bank and tried to withdraw $60,000 from her savings account. And a pizza delivery driver was shaken up after she was robbed overnight. It happened just after 9. The Domino's pizza delivery driver tells police she was about to pull up from a stop sign when a man knocked on her window, then opened her door. Investigators say the man held something against her neck and demanded money. He made off with about $55 in cash. The robber's description is vague. He's a white man, had a small build with a tattoo of a spade between his thumb and right index finger. That's LEX 18's covering Kentucky at 5.
Wind, rain, flooding, that's just some of what a town in Alaska is dealing with. It's a storm that's being called epic. More from the scene.
Also at 5:30, when LEX 18 covers your world, a catcher who plays for the Washington Nationals is kidnapped at gunpoint in South America. Up next, though, watch why some say obesity may be a prescription for second-class health care. That's tonight's LEX 18 Health Watch.
Considered obese, a figure that's jumped over the past 20 years.
And as Americans' waistlines expand, discrimination against the obese grows too. That discrimination is skewed toward women, and some say it's a ticket to second-class health care. Dia Davidson has more in tonight's LEX 18 Health Watch.
It wouldn't be the first time I've heard about patients being obese, feeling stigmatized by their doctors.
Dr. Jill Clements is a psychologist who works with obese patients. She says the research is clear. Many in healthcare look at obese patients as not worthy of treatment, that they're lazy and not responsible for their well-being.
And I think when you have that core belief in mind and you're a doctor, then it's going to influence how you make decisions about how to treat people.
And it's worse for women than men. A 2007 study done at Yale finds doctor prejudice starts when a female patient is as little as 13 pounds overweight. Men get a pass until they're 75 pounds overweight. In May of 2011, a gynecology group in Florida made headlines when it refused to accept overweight patients.
I'm outraged and shocked.
All doctors take a Hippocratic oath to treat any patient, regardless of whether they're obese or they have chronic conditions.
ACOG reminds its membership about the special needs of obese women because they have an increased risk of complications, both during and after pregnancy. While not condoning discrimination, Dr. Peter Sosnow says those increased risks, coupled with sky-high medical malpractice rates for OBGYNs, makes it understandable why a doctor might not want to accept an obese woman into their practice.
Bad outcomes can become malpractice even though there's no negligence.
But there are more subtle ways obese patients are stigmatized.
A lot of doctors' offices especially don't have chairs that don't have the handles. So it's very uncomfortable to sit down or get out of them.
And who wants a doctor who's judgmental or hostile?
Women in particular who are obese don't want to get health care because they're afraid of not only what the doctor may say about their obesity and the concerns that they may have about their health care, but they don't want to present. They don't want to present themselves.
Why we pack on the pounds is a complex issue, not simply a lack of motivation or too much food eaten and too few calories expended. There are emotional, genetic, and societal issues, and doctors, especially those who turn their noses down at heavy patients, may be contributing to the problem. Covering health news, Dia Davidson, LEX 18 News.
If you think you're being discriminated against because of your size, talk with your doctor. If you're unable to find common ground, find a new practitioner.
It's their mission, telling the story of the Carrollton bus crash, a tragedy that killed 27 people.
On LEX 18 News at 6, watch how you can be a factor in the making of a movie about the nation's worst drunk driving tragedy. We hope you join the 72,000 plus LEX 18 fans on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, and don't forget to watch Evening Edition at 7. LEX 18 News at 5:30 starts right now.